Group Room 4 and the University of East London are proud to present one of an installation created and curated by graduates from the BA Horns Fashion Design Department at the University of East London. The aim of the project was to allow British students to explore creatively their own response to life and culture within Vietnam. The students will rely on their technical ability and create inquiry in order to celebrate the experience and produce an installation within 4 weeks working in Hanoi. The exhibition reflects the view and feeling about beautiful, dynamic and interesting city of Hanoi through eyes of students from the University of East London.
Greetings from Trang Vietnam on VTC10 Netviet. In today's program, we'd like to invite you to a new exhibition, one-off, celebrating the creative reaction of the students at the University of East London on the dynamic and beautiful image of Hanoi. Joining our program today, we have a conversation with Mr. David, the program leader of the students. Thank you, David, for joining our program today. Firstly, could you please share more with us about the inspiration and the reason that you and the students decided to adopt for this exhibition, one-off?
Of course, yeah. Basically, the inspiration with it was really to look at creative expression. Basically, open a window of exploration up for them. So to say, we don't have to just think local. We don't just have to think about creating things in the UK. What about globally? We live in a world where we can do that now. So it was really important for us to work on this collaboration with Work Room 4 to allow our students to have that opportunity.
This exhibition aims to introduce the beautiful image of Hanoi. I'm wondering, is this the message that you want to tell the Vietnamese and international audiences?
Yeah, I think it's about excitement, and it's about the dynamic, the positivity in a city. Personally for me, being in Hanoi now for 4 weeks, I've seen so much and so many layers of culture, of tradition, of kind of looking to the future, and of energy, so much energy on the streets, everywhere you go. And it's been fantastic, the reception that we've had, the people that we've worked with, it's been very, very inspiring. And I think, it's not just myself that's had that experience. I think that's been reflected with the students as well. Everyone that they've talked to, luckily, Work Room 4 have great connections, a great kind of understanding of Hanoi, I believe, and through what the work they're doing, really, really exciting work with local artists, people who are living and working in Vietnam and from Vietnam, that they've managed to kind of offer myself and my students a fantastic insight into the culture that's here at the moment. And that's why I think it's really special in terms of talking about this and celebrating it.
Can you share more with us about the process of creating and preparing for this exhibition?
Yes, of course. So from what kind of you would see around the gallery are materials such as traditional paper, so traditional Zoe paper. Looking at also resources that are local. So we've been using laser cutting that's very local. They've been fantastic services for us. We've also been kind of using local threads, so local haberdasheries, because all of the jackets that you'll see hanging, they've all been sewn and constructed here. All of the materials and the contents within these sculptures, it's all been sourced from the streets of Hanoi, so mainly from the 36 streets. I'm looking at the different content that you can pick up. And again, it's been completely integral into this project, this exhibition. And it's what it's about, really. That's what it's about. We're trying not to bring anything here to build this exhibition, to make sure that everything in here is from Hanoi. That was the important thing, and we've achieved it, which is great.
The exhibition titled Nieu is the name of a traditional folk game in Vietnam. The idea of students from University of East London when making costumes is aimed to express the traditional cultural features of Vietnam.
Because it's the first time we've ever been here, we wanted to see as much as we could. We knew already that it was going to be full of interesting things to see and a completely different culture to one that we're used to. So along that journey, we found that Vietnam has this old folklore game that children play, which is Nieu. And we basically wanted it to be the exhibition to be our version and our reaction to like the things that we see here, and it tell a story in our way using that kind of foundation of Vietnam.
The costumes in exhibition were made from traditional materials such as gió paper. In order to have this material, students had to travel and talk to artisans who specialize in making gió paper.
Gió paper is something very unique to Vietnam. We actually went to the villages where they make it and went to the houses of the people that make it. We visited quite a few. I think we visited 3 of the families that make gió paper, and we bought some of the printed pictures as well. I think it's really interesting.
Besides the desire to express unique features of Hanoi through traditional materials, students from University of East London also want to deliver the beautiful and dynamic image of Hanoi through the costumes like raincoat. Saran Samra, the owner of the idea, shared her thoughts.
The more we researched and the more things that we saw in the city, we realised that the raincoats were everywhere, and I think we find if we see another raincoat anywhere, we'll just always think of Vietnam now. So we wanted them to be these raincoats because they're already so common here and just recognisable to the city.
I think it's very exciting, isn't it? It's a very unusual exhibition, but you can see the blend of Hanoi and the style of the artists who've come from the UK. And it's very interesting that they've picked the coats. And when I look at them, I'm reminded of the ladies that you see working in Hanoi or riding on the bicycles and wearing the coats to protect their skin. And it's amazing how they've used local materials as well and worked them into this very familiar object that you see in Hanoi every day.
This is the first time that Nieu and the students are coming to Hanoi, Vietnam and working on the exhibition One-Off. Did you face any difficulties, and how have the Vietnamese people supported you so far?
Well, to be honest, there haven't been any difficulties at all. You know, it's been such a fantastic experience. We've hit no barriers, not one. And I think, you know, as I say, through working with Workroom 4, through the business relationships that they've created, they've made this exhibition a very, very simple thing to do. So yeah, I wouldn't really say there's any at all. And just going back to the point I made earlier about the Workroom 4's connections and with people that are from Vietnam and do have their own businesses in Vietnam, I mean that's been so great to see, so great to see. And to give you an example, a lady called Tao, who's a fantastic fashion designer, is running a menswear and a women's wear label. But not only that, she's also sourcing, you know, natural ways of dyeing and washing and making fabric all around Vietnam, which is amazing for myself and my students to see. So, yeah, there have been no difficulties in that sense. You know, it's all been a fantastic experience.
From perspective of the program leader of the students in your university, can you share more with us about your opinion on the exhibition items?
I suppose this idea of almost like a game, like a folklore game that brings people together, I suppose reminds you a bit like about your childhood, you know, and you look at folklore as always, folk games, they've always been about imagination and creativity, you know, bringing that out of children. And I think that's a very, very pure thing. And I think, you know, when the students were looking at it, when you think about that, that's a lovely thing to offer someone else, you know. And I think the idea was that how could we make an exhibition that was interactive, you know, that kind of, you know, that allowed people to maybe get a sense of what the students had experienced. You know, and I think the game, quite rightly as they selected, kind of offered that. You know, so this becomes their take, I suppose, on that Nieu. You know, kind of trying to have the audience engage with the work. But hopefully you'll stick around and you'll see what I mean.
Why did you choose to showcase the beautiful and dynamic image of Hanoi? Why not others?
Well, I think for a big part of it is because of what kind of Claire and Dorian through Workroom 4 are doing here. I'm very, very interested and excited about that. And I think it's important for us to show that. You know, this is where the gallery and the studio is based. And I think we have a chance to really celebrate that. But also, it was a lot about what I said earlier about not bringing anything here. You know, and we had to think about logistics, so we had to think about time, you know, because 4 weeks is a very, very short time to do a whole project and an exhibition. So, I mean, it was literally the students got off the plane, you know, they had a day, and then that was it. You know, they were straight into work. They had to start thinking about what they were going to do, think about where, you know, what things they could source, but they also they went to meet a lot of different people, so we organised that, and then they started building and making work, you know, so in one way, very important because Workroom 4 is in Hanoi, and we wanted to represent that. In another way, logistically, it gave the students enough time to really get a good bit of research done, and be able to make the exhibition in the time.
Could you share more with us about your feelings about Hanoi beside the dynamic city? What are the feelings that you have for Hanoi?
Great pride, you know, really, really quite inspiring pride of a place. And its history, and you can see it, and I think that one of the great things for me, like a great moment for me, was doing a certain amount of museums in one day. So as well as obviously getting to those museums, I'm not kind of riding around getting there, but going to kind of the Museum of Ethnology, seeing the Temple of Literature, and also the Women's Museum, seeing all those three, and you just get a great, I don't know, I suppose a great sense of a country that's about its people and really celebrates their work, you know, and how they've built up the city. So I'd say that's been really, really exciting for me, you know, to see that.
And in the future, do you have any intention to come back to Vietnam and to get more inspiration for the new project?
I hope so. Yeah, definitely. You know, I hope that this is the start of a lot of collaborations between us and between Workroom 4. I think that, you know, for me personally, art and design is massively important, and I think you know, it's reflected in what I do. It's reflected in what my students want to be, and it's also reflected in what great people like Workroom 4, Dorian and Claire, are starting. And it can, you know, it's universal. You know, when you think about design and art, it does transcend barriers in a way. You know, in the same sense as that, you know, my Vietnamese is very, very limited, you know. But I think that visually, you know, whether I understand Vietnamese language, I can visually understand a city. You know, when I'm seeing art, when I'm seeing design, when I'm seeing how people live, I can take that in and see it. And that's the power of it. You know, that's the power of art, design, the visual, and that's why I'm so excited about working here again. You know, so yes, it will definitely happen.
Thank you, David, for joining our program today and for your sharing.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
With that, we have to wrap up our program for today. For comment and feedback, don't hesitate to write to us at shanvietnam@netviettv.net. Thank you for watching and goodbye for now.